All right, I am so excited to be back with the next installment of Alumni on Air. This guest is somebody that is near and dear to my heart, somebody that just has been with me for a long time in this journey, almost over a decade. One of my best friends say, like, I got we said we got like a bachelor's degree, a master's degree. No, we got a doctorate degree in each other, back. We've been together for a long time. This is somebody that pushes me, helps me think better, and this really has been an amazing asset to the region and to the city for a long time. But before we get into that, let's make sure you know what you're tuned into. So this is Alumni on Air. This is where we have an amazing group of alums coming to the Teach for America Memphis office and coming to the Alumni Impact Room Air, get it? And share their stories and share their ways, the reason why they came to Memphis or why they stayed in Memphis, why they did the core, and then what made them stay in Memphis after they completed their core commitment. You might hear a little bit of something in the background. We definitely have a few guests, but as you know, at Teach for America, we believe in family. So we got some people coming in, staying over. You know what I'm saying? So if you hear in the background, just know that some of our guests in another room, but you should be able to hear everything great, especially with this person because he knows how to be loud. He knows how to let you know what it is and what it ain't.
Look, I'm here to have a good time.
And
okay?
he gonna have a good time.
Not a long time.
Not a long
I'm here to have
time.
a good time now. Come on.
All right. So definitely want to let y'all know that. But who am I? I'm Dr. Jamisha Hayes. I'm the Managing Director of Alumni for Teach for America Memphis. And I am so excited to do this work with the amazing James Larkin. He's our Director of Alumni and Communications. He's the one that got us all set up. You see this new setup? James had the vision. And I was like, all right, here go the budget. So I'm excited to have this, and I know I can't wait any longer. This amazing person, James Johnson, is here.
What's up?
So we're gonna jump right in. We gotta get all in the tea. I'm gonna get all in your business.
Come on, I'm here. That's what I'm here for.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about you. Who are you, and like specifically, what is there, if anything, what's the story behind your name? You know, my name is Jamisha. It came from my daddy, James. So my mom was like, "You're gonna be Jamisha." But other people have other stories of things about their names. So tell me a little bit about you.
Okay, well, my name is James Johnson. I am originally from San Diego, California. A lot of people don't know that. So I'm actually, you know that for real?
I did not know that. Look, I'm learning stuff on real time.
I thought you knew that.
I might have didn't know that. I might forgot.
Well, my dad, he was in the military. Mm-hmm. My stepfather, he was in the military. So, Navy bred, had a chance to live all over the country. So, born in San Diego, moved to Guam.
I did do that.
Came back to the States, Boonville, Mississippi, had a culture shock. We were living in Guam for 4 years, basically living in Hawaii, then coming to the country. It was a huge culture shock. Ended up moving to Jackson, Tennessee, where I finished high school. And then I moved to Memphis once I graduated for undergrad. And I've literally been in Memphis ever since. So after graduation, I decided to join the Corps. And the rest has kind of been history. In terms of my name, now I would give y'all the real story behind my name, but this isn't Maury. So we ain't going to go there today. So read between the lines. But my name is definitely, it's a powerful name. You know, James is, you know, king. You think of king, you think of royalty. But behind it, right, James.
James in the background.
Snapping in the back. But my name definitely has a complicated history. I ain't here for all of that today. But just know, if y'all ever seen a Tyler Perry movie or one of them Lifetime movie networks, that has a little bit of something to do with what's behind the name. But I love my name. It's a powerful name. People call me my first and last name together sometimes. Like, I'm like, look, call me whatever you want to call me. But that's just a little bit of history behind that. So,
yeah, I love it, though. I do love, and it's layers here, honey. It's layers.
Definitely layers. But I ain't going to give them all of it. I ain't going to give y'all the autobiography. Y'all going to pay for that. So.
We definitely, and we will pay. We will pay because I know it's going to be good. I know it's going to be good. All right, so when was your core year? What core did you come?
The best core year, of course, 2012. Don't play. 2012.
Okay.
2012.
I have to be a great host and promote my host mode, not just in our jamming mode.
I'm going to let you have 2011. Y'all paved the way for
we
2012.
But you know what? Honestly, 2012 is near and dear in my heart.
We had a bomb core. I mean, everybody that was in that core, when I say they're doing amazing things, from founders of schools to working on the district level, to politicians, to principals, to a lot of folks have gone into medicine. So when I say, and I know other classes have had some good representation too, but 2012, when I say like we really represent the full gamut of those who stayed in the field and those who were doing some other amazing things, but also giving back at the same time. I love my core.
I definitely think you hit the nail on the head with giving back. 2012, I see y'all coming and doing a lot and really paying it forward and really keeping up. I think when I joined the Corps in 2011, that was a mission on, like, I'm going to deliver excellence for kids, period.
Oh, we didn't play.
There was no conversation.
We didn't play. And then we would have summits. Then we had to meet every once a month at Manassas High School. So when we would come, like, how's your data looking? Like, what's your data looking like? So, I mean, it was, all around the mission. It was always around the vision and how we're progressing. And we were always pushing each other to excel even more. And it was really motivation for those of us who were having some hard times, because teaching is not easy. But when you're around people who are passionate about the work and really care about the kids in the community, it makes it easier to overcome those challenges when you are in it with people who are just as passionate.
I agree. And I think that's what I loved about 2012. What I love specifically about you is that you came in, dove in. I remember meeting you at somebody's apartment. I'm going to give all that tea. But I knew about him before I knew him. That's when you talk about when you meet somebody before you meet them. And then you meet them and like, okay, do you know what everybody's talking about? Okay, all right.
Well, I'm glad it was good.
It was such good stuff. And I never have disappointed since then. So I just really am just really on public going to say, I'm very proud of you. We're going to hear your story. Okay. Before you hear all the greatness, I'm going to say it now. I'm very proud of you.
Thank you.
Let's get into 2012. You say, okay, I'm doing Teach for America. Did you sign up? Did you say you wanted to be in Memphis, or was it like they just kind of put you here?
Oh no, I put Memphis as number one. I was very clear. Now, what I wasn't clear about was going into the field of education.
Okay.
So a lot of people don't know I was actually broadcast communication, poli-sci major. Don't ask me how I was going to merge the two. But my last year in college, I ended up intern for the Department of Justice. I was in D.C. Working under Eric Holder at the time, under the Obama administration. That was an amazing experience. Being there, I definitely saw a lot of the inequities that we talk about in the education system, the prison pipeline. A lot of constituents who were in the southeastern part of D.C., which is where a lot of the poverty is even now, where it's concentrated, a lot of the schools that weren't doing as well, a lot of the crimes or a lot of the food deserts, that crime was also being concentrated in that same area. So looking at it from a prosecutorial lens and looking at it as an intern, I did not want to be a part of something where I'm going to the courtroom with these district attorneys and federal attorneys and looking at folks that look like me getting locked up, especially the ones who are under 18. And unfortunately, a lot of what they were doing was to survive. So now, of course, that doesn't mean that crime is okay, but for me, I wanted to be not on the back end of the situation, but for me, I didn't want to be a part of something where I would see that. So I said, well, what could I do to be more, what could I do to be in a situation that was more proactive and that was more impactful? And I'd always thought about doing teaching, and Teach for America had been trying to recruit me since junior year. I'm like, I ain't studying Teach for America. I ain't paying Teach for America no attention. But what's crazy is that when I thought about doing it, I said, you know what, let me give this a shot. So I ended up applying, ended up having my interview at Howard University. And it was so funny because when I had to do my mock lesson, I did it with my fellow interns. And I did the mock lesson with them. They were all in my apartment. It was like 20 of them. And to this day, I'll never forget it. They said, oh my God, you are going to be an amazing teacher. And I knew, I was like, okay, well maybe this is for me. So applied. It was crazy enough to select me. And a decade later, plus, I'm in this work and I'm very entrenched, very involved. Like I'm deeply committed to the work in this field. And what's crazy is that people were like, how did you go from politics, working on campaigns, being in D.C., working for Eric Holder, to going into the field of education? And I said, you know what? God is funny because he prepares you in different realms and parts of your life. Education is extremely political.
It is.
When you're talking about educating people's children, when you're talking about policy, what can be taught, when you're talking about funding, equity, that is all political. So I believe that my experience as a poli-sci major, having been an SJ president and at university level, going to DC, getting involved on that level, that prepared me for the whirlwind of all the changes even now that is going on, to be able to kind of navigate all of those things that are behind the curtain, if you will, that impacts the people and the teachers who are on the front line and the principals and the district leaders. It gives me a different lens to kind of navigate that. So everything has prepared me, and looking back now, I'm like, okay, everything was purposeful and it was meant for me to go the path that I went to get to where I am today.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. And I think that is so important how we don't realize the power of teaching, the connection of teaching, that like at the end of the day, the nucleus of our society is always going to be education.
Always.
And so if you don't find a way to, if you don't want to admit it or don't want to see it or don't grasp it, it's education that will truly unlock your freedom.
Yes.
And I know that's controversial now, I'm like, what? But I really think if we get back to what education is, it's like, I didn't say what type of education. I said education is your freedom. Now we got to figure out what the education is supposed to be. That's what we need to be leaning in on.
And to me, that's part of the problem, because now we're trying to weaponize what education is and what it should be. Education, the root of it, if you look at the Latin word, is to bring out what is already within. So why is that becoming a problem? To actually give people truth, to actually give people a whirlwind of experiences so that these folks can have a life of choice. That's what it's about.
And if you do what you're supposed to do, then you already know people going to choose what's right.
Exactly.
But you have to set it up in a way to allow people to be able to have the ability to choose.
Exactly. And it can't be where this district or this state is getting more funding than others. These kids are getting the best, but down the street. And we know how it is in Memphis. You can be in one zip code, 5 minutes later, you in a whole other zip code. I literally had to have a conversation with some kids yesterday. This was literally yesterday. We had a teacher out. So I'm like, nope, I'm going to the classroom. I'm going to teach his class. Yeah. And I went in the class and taught, and they said, well, why is it I don't know how we got on the topic of funding, but we got on, I don't know how, y'all, we ain't got all day, but like, I don't know how we got on the topic, but I said, a lot of it has to do with property taxes, a lot of it has to do with state funding, federal funding. They were so fascinated, and they didn't understand why all of the schools in the neighborhood did not get the same resources. In their mind, it's like, well, it makes sense for everybody to get the same. Yeah. But I had to break it down and say, that's why who you are is so important. That's why you getting your education is so important right now. So when you get old like me and you get in my position, you can maybe change some things and levy your community, levy your voice, levy your political capital that you will have one day to actually follow through with the changes or make the changes that sometimes we're not necessarily able to do. I said every generation is supposed to make things better for society. Yep. So take your questions and your curiosity and continue to ask those questions, and those inquiries that you have will lead some discoveries down the line. And when you find people who feel the same way that you do, that's when some magic will happen.
And that's when magic will happen. And I think that magic definitely has happened with your institute experience, because y'all had
I love some good institute.
Y'all had a unique institute experience. So kind of give all the people listening, what was your institute experience? Because we all know it's different.
Yes.
I know 2011 was different than 2012.
Right.
So what happened for you all with institute? So you joined the Corps, you got excited, and they said, okay, now you got to go to this 6-week training. What was that about?
Oh my God. So first of all, I came to... Did we go to the University of Memphis for like registration? Mm-hmm. We were at the University of Memphis, and they said, "Okay, get ready to pack your bags. You're going on an all-expense paid trip to the Mississippi Delta." And I was like, "We going where?" I'm like, "Lord, have mercy." So went to the Delta for 6 weeks. Baby, mosquitoes bigger than my head. What I tell you. Now, I will say this. Delta State University was a great place for us to get our training and our learning. They were so accommodating. But that was a great experience. Even though that 6 weeks, it was very intense. The training, oh my God. I had some great coaches. The schools were so great. And to do the training in a rural school setting was something that was so new. Yes. And it was so different because everything was completely different than what I experienced, like more so like in an urban setting or from how I grew up, like in a suburban school setting with just being a military kid is very diverse, etc. But the training was really good. It was very intense. But one of the biggest things that I learned through that training early on was the power of network and the power of being able to leverage my fellow Corps member colleagues to get through that experience. Yes. So it doesn't matter if we were doing the Corps or medical school, you cannot get through those things by yourself. Yes. So sometimes you need the support. So that goes back to the village, the support of people to get you through. But that experience was great. Definitely gained freshman 20 all over again because they fed us barbecue chicken, fried chicken, everything. The food was great, so they definitely weren't short on food. That we had nothing to do because we was in the country, so all we had to do was eat. We couldn't do nothing but eat. But the experience was really good. I would definitely say that experience enabled, I know 2012, our core to be very close because we had no choice but to really get ingrained in the pedagogy, get ingrained in the content, because there was nothing to do really outside of like the day-to-day, but we got really close. We formed some great bonds and some great relationships. And once the core institute was over, a lot of those bonds and a lot of those friendships were carried over to our actual teaching experiences that helped us, a lot of us, really be in the position that we're in today. So it was a great experience. It was really intense. I ain't gonna lie to you. It was some days I'm like, yeah, there was one situation, I ain't gonna put his name on blast, but there was one day, had overslept. You know, when you do institute, you be tired as a mother. It's like you a zombie because you trying to fight whether or not you gonna get some sleep or get this lesson done. So it was one day I'm like, I'm gonna wake up early. You know, you lie and tell yourself, oh, I'm gonna get up super early and do this lesson. Okay. I went to sleep. I said, I'm gonna choose sleep tonight. I went to sleep. I overslept. I woke up, roommate gone, everybody gone, the bus gone. I called my seatmate. She said, look, and then my school was an hour away. Yes. And I didn't have a car at the time because I was in D.C. Didn't have a car. I called her. Tough love. She did not play. She said, I don't know, but find a way to get her. I was like, Lord have mercy. So luckily, Janae Douglas, who's an executive director now, she and I formed a great relationship. So I called her like, I don't know, I missed the bus and I don't know how I'm going to get to the thing. And my teammate going to chop my head off. And she was like, look, I just had somebody else to miss the bus. She drove. I'm going to call her and tell her to pick you up. Be ready. I said, Lord, so I got my shirt, my clothes. I'm trying to, meet the girl. I don't even know who the girl is. She said somebody going to come pick you up. So she made me. We was in the same boat we got there. And we ended up having a good day. So, but that's just one of many different things. But the biggest thing, too, was the relationships with the school and the kids. Mm-hmm. I have a photo of those kids to this day because that experience is and was my foundation to the beginning of teaching. Lyons Elementary, it was a great experience. Those kids, what's crazy is I'm always thinking, how are they doing? I know. Like, how are those kids doing? That was over 13, almost 14, Lord have mercy, years ago. And I always think about those kids. How is Cedric doing? Yeah. How is Misha doing? Yeah. And I can't think of some of the other kids' names, and some of them gave me the blues. That's how I can remember their names. But they were good kids, and they wanted to learn, and they were very eager. Yeah. So I always wonder how they're doing and how that experience shaped and maybe impacted the kids, So. Mm-hmm.
I think everything you're talking about, too, about this idea of the village to village and including the villages to children is the people that are leading you, so the elders, but also you. Mm-hmm. I think that all comes together. And I think sometimes we look at adversity or like you missing a bus. No, that was a good thing because you missing that bus allowed you to build a relationship and then figure out how to get with Janae and then with Janae. So I think that everything truly does happen for a reason. It does. And I think that what you're bringing for me is this crystallization. Like it happens for a reason, but it's happening to strengthen that village. To strengthen that village. Because you are a part of this. So if you're stronger, then the people that's connected to you are going to be stronger as well. You know what I'm saying? It allows them to show up for you. So sometimes we got to have those breakdowns. So that we can have it. Okay. Gotta have a breakdown for you to have a breakthrough. So you got a breakthrough. No testimony without a test. To come on, you got to pass everyone. Every single one of them. Y'all can tell. This is what we do on the phone all the time. Okay. All right. So we got through with the mosquitoes, because baby, the mosquitoes. They had spray every night. I'm staying in the house, y'all. I ain't got time to be competing with wasp spray, mosquito spray. I'm trying to get this fried chicken. Let me just stay in the house. I went to the country one time, and it's not, they flies are like, baby, I was so. There was something else now. But you know what? Like you said, it's a great experience. I love Mississippi. I do. Yes. Definitely have lots of friends and loved ones. You have to stay fighting okra. I was like, okay. Fighting okra. So y'all gonna name y'all mascot after some food. You see what I'm talking about? But you know he good. You gonna always be good. And look, that's why you have to. When you in Mississippi, Memphis got good food. Oh yeah. Now Mississippi, you know he good now. He good. Yeah. Look, have a good time. But you can't stay a long time because you're gonna be gain 50 pounds. Yeah, you're gonna gain some weight now. Yeah. Now some of y'all might be better at discipline. But look, I'm a foodie. at heart, always and forever.
Me too.
So you finished that.
Yeah.
You finished your institute, and then you came and you started teaching. So what was your content that you taught, and where did you teach it? If you would like to share.
So I was at Chickasaw Middle School, so I started there. Now I was supposed to be teaching 6th grade science. So my first day I got there, and there were a lot of new people. I had some other core members who were there as well. So I'm orientation, getting to know everybody at school, and I look at the sheet of paper and it says James Johnson, 6th grade science and social studies. I said, wait a minute, this ain't science and social studies. So some of the veteran teachers was like, well, that's what you teach. I said, but that's not what he told me. The principal said. So then he came in the room and they were going over assignments, and then he said, yeah, James Johnson, science and social studies. I said, oh, okay. So that's how I found out I was teaching science and social studies, 2 subjects. But I started my career there teaching science and social studies. I ended up teaching English a couple of school years. But my main subject was science. Love science. I love it, love it, love it. I remember, first of all, I'm grateful that I was placed in the subject of science. But I know for me growing up, science was always my favorite subject. Mr. Armstrong, Miss Dr. Theus. I remember those science teachers because they were really good. Now, I can't remember my 6th grade science teacher, but she was really good. I think Miss Mulligan's. It just came to me. I never can remember that lady's name. That's so crazy. But they were really good. Just the exploration, just the experimentation of things, just being curious about the world and trying to come up with an explanation for different phenomena. That has always been like a fascination for me. So to be in a subject where I'm actually teaching, where that was my favorite subject, like I absolutely love it. So that's why I started off at Chickasaw Middle School with MSES.
So let me tell you something. The T is middle school teachers are the best, okay? And then
they are.
And then you add social studies, you know what I'm saying? Because I taught 7th grade social studies, and I did 8. So when you in that middle school area, it is a different beast. I'm not gonna lie. Like now look.
You gotta have, first of all, you better be confident in who you are.
Come on, you gotta be.
You better be ready, because they're growing physically, psychologically, emotionally. They're going through puberty. They're trying to figure out what their identity is. Yes. So if you come up in there and you're not confident and you're not sure yourself, they will eat you alive.
They will eat you alive.
Now, if you can do middle school, elementary and high school will be a cakewalk. But middle school is definitely a different breed. They have no filter. No
filter.
My grandma, she told me, she was like, how those piranhas doing today? I'm like, because she said they will eat you up. I said, they will.
They will.
But if you come in there and you about business and they know that you're not playing,
I'm telling you,
they'll kind of chill out. But
they will.
Just like with any kid, they go in any, subject, whether it's, grade band, whether it's elementary or high school, if you come in, and you have a sense of purpose and a sense of direction, they'll fall in line. Now it might take a little bit more with middle school, but they were a great group. I actually, I do want to end up being a principal eventually, and I think that for me, I would like to do it in the middle school setting where I started.
I agree. I think if I ever would go into school administration, I think middle school would be where my heart is. I remember when I was teaching, my administrator at the time, he said there was an opportunity to go to, a lower grade or potentially even a higher grade at some point. And he was like, you know what? I realized, Ms. Hayes, you know what? You're a middle school. You're a middle school teacher. That's who you are.
I can see you. I didn't know that you did middle school, actually. I don't know why I thought you did high school.
See, they tried to put me to
They tried to put you.
And I said, no now.
You said no. You said no. I'm going to do this middle school.
This middle school. Yeah. I'm telling you, what I really wanted was elementary. I really wanted elementary first.
Oh my God.
I wanted that.
Yeah.
Because I was going to be like Miss Frizzle. Like, I had my whole plan.
Yeah.
And like you said, because I taught 3rd grade at Institute, and I was like, I got this. I can do this.
I could totally see you doing that.
And I was going to be an English teacher. That's what I thought. Baby, no. That's not what happened. That assignment was not.
The assignment, they said, no, we're going to put you as a plan. We're going to put you over here.
And like you said, it is one of the best experiences. That when I think about my experience, like my highlights of my life, I think, and when I got to the point of understanding inequity and also understanding the ability to make change was in middle school. It was in that time when I realized that things happen to you, but you can do something to change it.
Yeah.
And that's when I started evoking my own power, my own voice. And so I've always wanted to be that person to kind of put that back in kids. And I did. I mean, at one point, I had my kids, we was talking about the American Revolution and all that. And I said, okay, they said, we want to revolt against the homework. I said, well, then go and write y'all petition. Let's see what y'all got.
Come on.
Show me
Come on,
like,
application.
Let me see what y'all got. I said, get 100 signatures. Now, you saw now, there was not 100 signatures signed. But she tried. One of my babies, she tried to do it. And I remember there was pushback about that. Like, what happens if they question us? I said, but my thing is, if they can push us on our systems and we don't have a good answer, then we need to be real about why we have that system. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, I realized that it was important also, I think, in safe spaces for my babies who I've been with for a while, for them to experience failure with somebody that loves them. Because it's not going to be failure in the sense of this, like, you are a failure. It's going to be like, that avenue didn't work. What can we go back and learn from this? How can we then move past it and then be stronger the next time? You got to give kids at bats to make the mistake. And I think middle school is the best time to do that in a safe environment. Because by the time they get to high school, it's a different level.
Then they're really in high school, they're very guarded. They want to be the cool kid.
Yes.
I gotta be I want to be seen as smart. I want to be seen as knowing. No, cut all of that up. But like you said, if their middle school experience is one where they had a lot of safety nets, where they felt safe emotionally, psychologically, they were able to persist and take those academic risks, then it's easier for them to go to high school and be able to just be themselves and just to know that taking risks academically is also helping you grow as a student, because it's not about having an answer, but it's about having that journey, that exploration of actually getting there, and not just you being top to a test that you can get 36 on the ACT. That's cute, but you can be book smart, but if you don't have any common sense, then we've also done you an injustice.
We've done you an injustice because we are growing people. And I think that's what people don't realize sometimes with education, the power that I love about Teach for America. One thing I would say that TFA gave me as a core member and even as a staff member, and I'm going to get on to that too, but you've been a staff member. Don't think we're going to go past that, because that's when I saw the shine, okay?
Oh, Lord.
He did great, and he took his greatness and passed it on to other people. He continues to do that. But I think one of the things that I realized in Teach for America, because I came in thinking it was an achievement gap. And now over the years, I came to understand opportunity gap. And I was like, no, education, it's an education debt. So I understood now that there is a historical reason why people in certain environments don't have access to the things they have. And that some people in that system, right, don't even recognize that they've been put
because you don't know what you don't know. Because you don't know that you don't know that you don't know that you don't know.
And that comes from, and that level of education and questioning and curiosity, it's not just, like when I said, it's not just the achievement gap, it's not just the opportunity gap, it's the education debt that you didn't get opportunity to think about anything. You need an opportunity to even, whether it be play with your dolls and explore that way, or play in science class and explore that way. You need an opportunity. You just, like you said earlier, you just were trying to figure out how to survive. And it was designed that way. But but in our classrooms, in our communities, we can do something different. And I've seen you do that when you are, so I know you taught for 2 years, but I feel like you, during that, your experience is different, because while you were teaching kids, you also teaching core members, because you were a part of Institute in Memphis, right?
Yes.
Okay, tell us about that.
So definitely taught more than 2 years, so taught 7 years.
7 years, yes.
Now, 2016, there was an opportunity to work on staff for Institute, and for me, I was like, well, let me try this out. Like, Institute was a great experience for me. Mentorship is something that's really big. So even if it wasn't a role to work on staff full time, like, I love mentorship, being able to give back, like, have those affinity spaces and groups to be able to just share nuggets and share wisdom and share information. Like, for me, that is very important. So even if it wasn't a full-time role, like, it was something that I was interested in being a part of. But anyway, first got on, I was a deputy site director at Corning Elementary.
Come on, Corning!
And was there for 3 years with Corey Hamner, who was great. And I learned a lot about how to run a school. I learned a lot about logistics. I learned a lot about culture. I learned a lot about operations. And, of course, most importantly, academics. So being able to work Institute also helped me to see, as a person who's on staff locally for Teach for America Memphis, what type of experience do we want to create for incoming core members so that we have strong retention, we can have strong recruitment around what it looks like when they come in, and then also what does sustainability look like post the 2 year experience. So for me, being on staff and then also being a part of the collective, I'm not just thinking about their institute experience. I'm thinking about how can we also use this as a springboard to set them up for success throughout the duration of their 2 years while they're in Memphis as a whole, not just as a teacher, but as a person, as an alum eventually, of course, right? So then, of course, from there, I also started doing DEI work, where I, was a DEI facilitator, still doing it to this day. So I've been doing DEI facilitation for the last 8 years, and of course, with everything going on from the pandemic to George Floyd to even the immigration stuff going on now with the new, president that is currently in office, just with all the things political, those conversations change based on the time. So it's crazy to, now that I'm, discussing it with you, to look back and see how different conversations were needed and giving teachers the tools to not have political conversations with their kids, but how do you have the withal to make sure the kids are okay, to also be okay and be a safe space and a sounding board for your colleagues. What does that look like? Because unfortunately, DEI has been used to weaponize people, to weaponize, excuse me, to weaponize talent, to weaponize people who know the value in diversity of voice, diversity, representation, and also just the systemic racism that's taking place to not give everybody a fair shot. We all know that DEI does not mean, those that have sense. DEI does not mean that we're giving people who are not qualified opportunities to be in spaces. No, what that means is let's make sure that everybody has a seat at the table who is qualified, so that when we're making decisions for communities that are diverse, everybody is represented. It's at the table. So for me, being a part of DEI in terms of facilitating and just doing workshops, even locally at summits in the Memphis region, has been very important to me. Like I said, it's not about being political, but it's about being real and about having conversations. Because I'm going to just be frank with you, the same people that have an issue with DEI are the same people who are okay with getting a job because you know somebody. That to me is an inequity. That's the real problem. When you can get a job and someone has gone to school because, every time, someone is, or a group of people I feel like are doing well, the measuring stick is always changed. The goal post is always changed. Get these degrees, do this, have this experience. But we're seeing with this current administration, you can hire anybody who doesn't have any experiences at all. And they can have a job. Now, I'm not getting into the politics and, all of that, but we have to change the narrative around what DEI is and what it means. And those of us who have courage are not afraid to have those conversations, just be very blunt and very transparent around what it actually is, and not allow people who don't have an interest in diversity, equity, and inclusion, I'm talking about like as a society, allow them to use that as a pundit or a political punching bag for agendas that are bigger than the work that is being done on the ground. Because there's a lot of things happening behind the scenes politically, but we can't allow politics to do what's in the best interest of kids and communities. And we all know that teachers, school leaders are doing that frontline work. And that should be political, but unfortunately it is.
So when you finished your 2-year commitment and then you stayed on the top for 5 years after that, was that your vision of one day, or did you have a different, or has your vision of one day evolved over time?
My vision for one day, I'm not going to lie to you, one day all children will be able to obtain an excellent education in this country. And I ain't going to lie, when I first started, I'm like, oh, that sounds cute. Like, okay. I can get jiggy with that, Now being a school leader, I'm like, oh, that vision is, okay, wow. One day everybody in this country will be able to obtain an excellent education. For me, I didn't know what that looked like necessarily as a teacher. I just knew that I wanted to teach my butt off every day with purpose. And I wanted to make sure that I am giving 100% to my kids. Now, what I knew back then and connecting it to what I try to prioritize even now is that I not only wanted to teach the students that I was teaching to the best of my ability every day. I wanted to expose them to different opportunities and peak experiences outside the classroom. So that's why I got involved in coaching. You know, I coached track for 2 years, championship coach at that. But a lot of that is attributed to exposing them outside of things outside of their neighborhood, right? I was a student council advisor. I did a lot of different things. The reason why, even as a high school student in college, I was very involved because those experiences helped shape and put me in a position to be able to work on a presidential campaign, to be able to go to the White House and work for Eric Holder, to be able to do the things that I do today. So giving kids a solid education, but then also making sure they have field trips, they have experiences, taking student council to go meet the mayor, taking them to Nashville to go meet Senator London Lamar and the governor, right? Taking my track team to, before the season started, let's go to Bridges and do some team building, right? I made every single person that was on that track team be a part of student council. You're going to get some leadership experience before the season even starts. So that way, when we become a team, you guys are already having the mindset of like what leadership is, what it isn't, how you can grow into your own individual leadership, because everybody is a leader in their in some type of way.
Yeah.
So just doing those little things where you're giving kids peak experiences so that kids are able to connect the dots on what they're learning in the class, but then also able to say, oh, I went out of town. Oh, I've done this. Even, I was at a high school the past 5 years before, where I am now. Taking kids to college tours, but taking them to college tours outside of the city. And not just on a college tour, but let's do something in the city. Let's go to a museum. Let's do some entertainment. Let's go to a fine dining experience where you can actually experience what it's like to go to a nice restaurant and get dressed up and to know, yes, that fork from this spoon and that knife and the soup and all of that, like how all that works. Those type of things are key is unfortunately in a lot of urban settings, they don't get those experiences. And that's the part of education that I really enjoyed infusing when I was a teacher. Even as an administrator, I'm always trying to think about what can we do on a school level to make sure that students have peak experiences, because those experiences are going to be what they're going to remember when they try to get ready to become whoever, go to, become a doctor, a lawyer, be a business owner. If you took that kid to a business and let them get behind the register, let them get behind, okay, this is how I calculate and, balance out my books. Okay, we do receipts. This is the processing system over here. Those are things they're not going to forget. They can read a book all day. But when you take them to that levels the playing field. And that's what our kids need more of. And that's what I try to continue to do. Even with my teachers, like with them, I talked about mentorship briefly. Mentorship is so important because you want to put people up on game, so that way they're able to maneuver in a way where they're not like running into a wall. You still got to learn your own way, but mentorship is so important, so that way they can kind of see what's behind the curtain, and then take what their own will and what their own purpose is, and then navigate that through some folks who've already kind of laid the tracks down for them, but in a way where it's a little bit smarter and it's not as nuanced.
I loved all of that. And I was thinking when I asked you the question about what's your vision one day, because when you started your story off, you said, how was I going to bring together the communications, broadcasting, and political degrees?
I know what I was doing. I'm just imagining that child, like, some gonna stick.
But I feel like as you were speaking about, when you this whole entire conversation has been one that is all of those things. You at every stage of your journey are broadcasting and making sure it's understood.
Okay, well, I didn't say okay. We broadcasting today.
But you are broadcasting.
Yeah.
I mean, you were a collective chair.
Yes.
Every seat you have chosen to sit in on the bus of life has been one that is not only about broadcasting, but it's always been a seat of communication, and your communication has always been rooted in something political. Whether you acknowledge it or not,
that's funny. Yeah,
it's always something political. And political, I think, sometimes even when I say it now, it feels like a dirty word. Like
and it should be.
But
when you talk about we're talking about the collective. The collective is the Alumni Association of Teach for America. Yeah. When we're saying political, we're saying how do we galvanize, how do we motivate, how do we inspire alum who are not in the class anymore to continue to do this work? And that's why I'm so passionate about the collective and being on that board and having the pleasure of being the chair for 8 years, because that work was so important. You don't just forget your 2-year experience once you finish teaching for 2 years. And I don't tell you, I get a lot of flack. Oh yeah, one of my best friends, they just come in and take 2 years. And I'm like, well, you're talking to an alum right here. You're talking to an alum. So I had to, through my experience, even get him to see the impact that we're actually having for those that are very entrenched in the work and very deeply ingrained and motivated and passionate and like on fire for continuing to work past the 2-year commitment that we initially signed up to do.
And I think that's what I was saying for you. I think that's why you embody One Day, because we did TFA not just about every kid having access to excellent education, but we talked about earlier, what is education? And what you try to do, and what people like you and alums and core members like you, we realized that our kids actually, when they're in that classroom, they might run into something dealing with the law. They might run into that in terms of whether it be services they need or not getting. That's a legal aspect. And so you might be a teacher at that point, or it might be a student, might be as a SPED teacher, you might be the one to be able to help your kids wake up and see, hey, you know what, you're not getting the service you need. Here's how I can help you. And that kid, like you just said, exposing what's going on behind the scenes. That kid goes up and they say, I'm going to be an attorney, but I'm going to go into this field, right? Okay, it might be that the kids are sitting here and they're saying, I got a cough every day, Miss Heather, I got a cough. Okay, you go to the doctor, but the doctor, you can't get there or whatever. So you as a core member might say, you know what, I realized my children had to go all the way down to another place to get service. They only had doctor's offices in this area.
You get there and they ain't listening to you because they don't value who you are. They don't think that you deserve to ask the doctor any questions.
Exactly. And so you could become that. You could say, I'm going to do this 2 years, but I'm going to go to medical school, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to open a practice in my neighborhood. You see what I'm saying? So I think that for you, right, your mission and your one day, you're living it out because you're doing the thing that we actually want all our alums to do, which is, I want you to figure out, get into that classroom and teach the best you can with those kids to get those academic gains, which you got, and then continue that work. And continue the work to ensure that kids have access. And that access portion is the portion that you are doing, because you are saying in every stage of your life, James, you have said, I'm going to step up and I'm going to not only, you could have just taught. You said, no, I'm not going to teach, I'm a mentor. You could have just taught. No, I'm actually going back to Teach for America. I'm going to step up and I'm going to be a coach. I'm going to be a DEI facilitator. You could have just taught, but you continue to do more. And just teaching is okay. Let me see. Teaching is an act of resistance. But what I am saying is you're doing above and beyond. And that's where I think your whole broadcasting,
communication, and in between, all of that stuff.
Because you got to do all of it.
I got to talk to the people. I got to connect the people. I got to have a little political swag with it.
You got to do all of it.
So things happen for a reason.
So that you can then give your kids and your community. And now, as an assistant principal, now you're taking all this experience and you're giving it to the babies and you're giving it to your schools and you're giving it. So I just want to, like I told y'all in the beginning, I said, I told I was proud, but when I sit here and gave you all just a little bit of what all he's done, he's had awards, he's had all these different things to acknowledge all the efforts that he's put in and the hard work that he does. And so I'm very proud of you. And I think the other piece that we have to really acknowledge is that it's not easy.
Oh, no.
You could have given up. You could have gave up when you got there and you was told you was going to teach social studies and science. You could have gave up with the flies.
Okay. In the
Delta. You could have gave up, at any, like I did 2 years, I did this. You could have given up, but you haven't. Why haven't you given up?
Because no one gave up on me. So how dare I say that what I'm doing is hard? What I'm doing is not hard. What I'm doing is a bump in the road, just like anybody else. I didn't get into this field to have an attitude of, you know what, I'm going to use this as a stepping stone. I'm going to go and do something else. This was my purpose. My purpose was to not just be an educator. My purpose was to be a person to galvanize folks and to use my influence to do something for the greater good. Yes. That's why I'm in education. And I'm going to continue to be involved in education for a long time because of the residuals that we will get back when we invest in our kids. When you invest in the kids, you invest in the entire community. And unfortunately, that's why we're going through a lot of what we're going through now with some of the political things that are going on in Memphis, all the different things. We got to make sure that our kids are not only educated, but we're also producing model citizens. So when they become elected officials, so when they become the next mayor, the next police officer, we don't have to worry about corruption. We don't have to worry about injustices. We don't have to worry about people that look like us doing the most harm, right? Because you're teaching people not only is an education important, but also like holistically, like psychologically, mental health wise, like as a person, as a citizen, as a constituent in your neighborhood. How do I become someone who is well rounded so I can bring my natural value in a space and know that my voice, whether I'm a person that has $1 million or $2 in the bank account, who I am and me being who I am is enough. And when I show up in a space, I can make sure that I can contribute. But how do I do that? So yeah, of course, there was no option for me to want to do anything different, even when those challenges came. Even being on the collective, like and doing alumni work when I was just getting started, the pandemic came. So we were like, how are we going to engage alum in a pandemic? And that was our most engaged year as a collective board to engage alumni. That was a presidential year. We did stuff virtually. We pivoted just like everybody else had to. And we figured out a way to get our alums inspired and motivated to continue to keep our eyes on the prize, and that's our children. So, no, I wasn't going to give up. Didn't nobody give up on me in high school. Didn't nobody give up on me when I wanted to do all these different things, and they saw the bright eyes in me and that ambition and said, okay, you got a little something. Okay, we're going to help you get there. Someone did it for me, and they're continuing to do that for me now. So who am I to not, if I have the withal to do, to lead, to mentor, to not do that for somebody else, because I know the impact, the positive impact, the life-changing impact that that's had on me. I'm going to absolutely do the same thing.
I hope all y'all listening, alums, core members, interested core members, y'all heard that. We don't give up because nobody gave up on us. And even if you felt like somebody gave up, winners don't put it themselves.
They don't. And even if you lose the race, you're not going to lose the war because everything that you do is a lesson. You only lose when you don't learn from the things that were of defeat. So if you take every single opportunity, every single journey that you have, and even if you don't win on paper, no, you've won if you've taken that and you've learned from it and you've applied it the next go around that you have. So I'm not a loser at all. I'm gonna always be a winner because I'm gonna always look at what I can do better. I'm gonna always look at how can I do things differently. I'm gonna always look at who could I have enrolled to not take on this by myself and just put all of this on my shoulders. No, there's power in numbers. So who else can I bring into the fold with me to tackle, to challenge, to accomplish, to inspire, to impact whatever group or constituency that is.
I agree.
So winner, whether, and bringing it back to the sports, like it's all in your mindset. I'm going to go with the Jalen Hurts, like he could have quit 2 years ago when he lost to the Chiefs. He could have said, dog, I'm at the highest point of my career and we done lost. He could have took that, blamed his teammates. He could have said, it's on them, I did my part. But he took that, he learned from it, he came back hungrier the next season. Didn't get it, but got it this go around. The man is the most, and I'm not even a football fan, but I'm bringing this in because I've been inspired just watching him. He's so humble.
He is.
And when he gave his speech around just, hey, Jalen, how were y'all able to do this? He talked about the team.
He did talk about the team.
He talked about a higher power, and I know, it's different for everybody. He talked about God, but then he also talked about my teammates. I didn't want to let my team down. He also talked about how everybody was on the same page and we didn't want to let each other down. We should apply that to our kids and the kids that we serve in this education field because it's the game, whether we want to admit it or not. And the more that we all can be on the same page, the easier it's gonna be to make those win for kids. But we gotta be on the same page as the adults. And when we can do that, there's nothing that we can't do.
There's nothing we can't do, except, unfortunately, having to end this episode. But if you want to see more from James Johnson, which I know y'all do, we probably have to have him back again for some more information. I might do something special for you, but definitely just want to say thank you. I hope that those are listening. You're really getting inspired about what is possible, getting inspired. I mean, there's so much more to James' story, and so many more avenues that he could have went down, that he has gone down, and I know there's more to come. Y'all keep your eyes open. There's more to come. But I keep that for just our private conversation. So just know that, again, if you see something amazing like James and all our other guests, know that you can do it too. And if you do want to be a guest on Alumni on Air, just reach out to me, Jamesha, JAMESHA, period, HAYES, at teachforamerica.org, or James Larkin, James, JAMES, period, LARKIN, at teachforamerica.org. And we can definitely see about getting you on here so you can tell your story. And again, get in the comments, show some love to James. Show some love to James, because the game is not gonna ever be over if we gonna keep fighting until we win, and then that's when the game will be over, and that's gonna be our victory. We're gonna do our victory dance, okay?
Absolutely.
All right.
Thank you.
See y'all later.